All right, today is the day, and we are back with a little Arete work today. We are going to be diving in underneath the dashboard. There is a problem in building a composite tub, and that is you have a bunch of components that are going to be underneath the dash that we need to be able to attach somehow. It is possible to put all kinds of embedments in there so that you can attach directly to the composites of that tub. But what we are going to do is we have a metal tube you may have seen in a previous video that crosses over between the connection to the subframe underneath the dashboard. We're going to hook a bunch of tabs and connectors in there that we can be attaching important things like the steering column and the pedal assembly. There'll be some other attachment points for a bracket for electronic enclosure and some other little places that we're going to add in there just so that we have somewhere to hook in ductwork for heating and air conditioning, things like that. Anyway, let's jump in, take a look, see us work on that dashboard.
Now I just say look back at the old video and I can just show it to you myself. And if you remember, this is the front subframe. We're drilling through the tub in the footwell area to a very heavily reinforced area. Now these bolts are going to travel through that front subframe into another plate on the inside, and that bar is going to cross over, tie the subframe, reinforce the subframe, plus give us that area to put all these components on. Now this component's going to be attached by a whole bunch of little brackets. I've had these water jet cut. Now this one here has 3 little tabs on it to stiffen it up, gives an area to weld to. One of them we can get with my little makeshift hydraulic finger brake, but the other ones I'm going to have to bend by hand. So we're just going to put a little relief cut in it, kind of grind halfway through the middle. That way this heavier steel stock, I can just go ahead and bend it with a hammer or a pair of pliers, or hammer and pliers together. And we'll just bang that out here on my old railroad tie. Maybe someday I'll get me an anvil. But the railroad tie works. We're going to get this thing pounded up, squared up just nicely. We got a bunch of those to make, but magic video, there they are, and we're ready to install them. First one, of course, double brackets. We're going to space them apart with a couple of little pieces of bushing and a bolt through it. Now this one's going to be our accelerator pedal, so it's going to hang over to the far right of our footwell in that area. And the next one is going to be a kind of a combo bracket. This is going to hold our steering column and be the suspended bracket for our brake pedal. So the first 2 parts of that bracket are going to hang and center right over the little arm that goes through to our brake booster. You can see it right below there. We get them lined up, same thing, bushing to space them, get it welded into place. Now I've got a third one that's going to be the steering column, but we'll come back to that later. Instead, we're going to go ahead and throw in this big bracket here. It's going to hold a box for electronics enclosures, and then a couple of brackets. These are just duplicates of the accelerator pedal brackets. I had them cut up, and we'll just have those in there for something to bolt on for the HVAC system components. Now we got that in, we know exactly where the steering column is going to line up because of that left bracket, and we're going to drill the hole through with the best alignment from that left bracket and where the steering arm is in front. Other couple of components we had to make sure we could clear, but we know where they all are now. Drill that hole. Now we can start trying and getting the steering column itself in there. Throw a little bushing to play for what will be a rubber bushing at the end. Now I have this fully adjustable steering column out of an Infinity Q45 that telescopes and tilts electrically, but it had a very large steering wheel, being a big sedan as it was. Now we're into a small sports car, we need a smaller steering wheel. So found something online and an adapter to adapt the two together, and we're going to put these together just for trial fit. One day later in some other video we will do a probably some carbon fiber finish and a stitched leather steering wrap on that as well to fix it up to be a little more custom. Also have the seats bolted in the car at the moment so that we can sit in it and try the steering column, make sure it's sitting right where it needs to be for me. The adjustability will adjust it if anybody else drives the car. And once we've got that left side in, there's a bolt hole on that side. We can scoot it over and get it bolted on the left side. And then we can bring in our brackets for the right side. But sitting in the car, can't reach brackets, so I'm just gonna brace it up as it's sagging down. Sticking a little piece of pipe, hold the position while I get that final bracket. And Sorry I did not get pictures of welding that bracket in, but there it is as it's going to be. With all the parts tacked in, we're going to pull that thing out and go on to finishing it. And of course, most of that's going to be just welding all these tabs in. Now they don't have to be fully welded on all surfaces, just 4 good welds on each side, each end. Will keep these brackets solid, or at least more solid than they will ever need to be required of them. And it's just a matter of turning this thing around and around so we get all the sides. Very good strong welds on the plates to the pipe itself as it goes across. Now once we get this thing all welded up, we're going to jump into a step now here that's one of the most important of all, and something that's sometimes skipped by major manufacturers. I'm going to go in and I'm going to take a flappy sanding disc and I'm going to round every edge and every corner. Now the water jet leaves a very sharp edge because it's cut so clean. And if you have ever been in a tight spot, like underneath a dashboard working on something, trying to disconnect something, and your wrench slips and you cut your knuckles open on a sharp piece of metal, you know exactly why I am taking this step seriously and at least given best I can a little rounded to the edges and the corners. Now it's been kind of cold around here lately, so I'm going to heat this thing up, heat the metal, heat the paint, and that will make sure we get a cure on our paint. Now you can do this very successfully in a cold area as long as the paint and the metal is warm, and you will see the vapor go away when it gets warm, and you know it's hot enough. We're going to take it a little beyond that temperature, get this thing really warm so it can saturate while I'm off warming up the paint. Now all I'm going to do is just get enough paint on this thing to give it some resistance to any kind of oxidation rusting. And I found one of the very best paints for this, if you go in with the rattle can, is Hammerite paints. Now these paints have some kind of chemical in them that causes a reaction that makes kind of the paint boil. And if you get enough paint on there, you can see the reaction take place. If you don't have enough paint, the reaction doesn't occur and you just get a gray flat look. So put enough paint on there in all the areas where you see the Hammerite effect and you know it's good and coated well. And there it is, everything ready to go back under the dash, start hooking things together. Let's just get that tub finished so that we can do it.
Well, there you go. We have an assembly that will be able to accept all of those components as they go underneath that dashboard. And now we have a piece of trim, a little carbon fiber trim that's going to be covering most of that up when we go to do the final assembly on this. In fact, I will go ahead and put a link up here if you haven't seen that video, and you can jump in there and see building of that carbon fiber part that's going to be the decorative side of that dashboard. Anyway, thanks for stopping by today. Come back, see us again.